I sold it. I shouldn't have done that.
Cycle Fever TV is brought to you by these great sponsors, so support them. Call Tough Turf for all your landscaping and irrigation needs. Check out Seminole Power Sports for all their brands of motorcycles, accessories, and service. DA's Cafe, where it's all happening. Bikes, cars, great food, rock and roll music. Come on by. USA Payroll, payroll tax service, workforce benefit solutions, insurance, and human resources. Check them out.
It's a water-cooled front-end invasion tonight that we have out at Ace Cafe. So everything 924, 944, 951, 968, they've all come out tonight. And we're just so happy that we've had such a great group of guys thinking up to bring their cars out and share them with us tonight. And we have a special guest by the name of Kevin Duffy, who is everything about these cars. He is just super passionate about everything 924, 944. In fact, has a great website called 924s944.com. So we're going to kick it right off with Kevin. And first of all, I just want to say, Kevin, thanks so much for coming out and sharing the passion with us. We've got a great car that you brought in here tonight that was owned by David McKetty, who you just recently purchased it from. I know there's more to the story, but we want to make sure that we're giving David some props tonight because he's been out here literally every Porsche night since we've begun, sharing his car with us, now your car with us. So we'll hear more about the car in a little bit, but so glad that you've come out to see us tonight.
Well, thank you. I'm really happy to be here. It's a great thing to have these 944s with us tonight and all these people bringing their cars out.
Yeah, it's just awesome, right? I mean, who would have thought we had such a big spread of cars? I mean, when you look out front, they're basically covering the whole front line, all 924s, 944s, turbos, everything in between. So we're just super excited for this. So what started your passion for these cars in particular? Like, what got it all started that you said, hey, I want to get into these little water-cooled front-engine cars from Porsche?
Well, back when in the early 80s, my wife decided that she wanted a Porsche, and I'm sure a lot of people here can understand and identify with that. And so I went looking around, and the only thing I could really afford was a 78 924, and I bought it. And she drove it, I drove it, my son learned how to drive on it. He was his first car in high school, which is kind of cool. And all together, we put probably a bit over 200,000 miles on that car. And that kind of got me hooked on a couple of different ways. One being that these cars were built well, they were simple, you could work on them, the parts were not expensive because for the 924s and 924Ss and the early 944s, a lot of the parts, dare I say, are Volkswagen parts. This car behind us is an 87 924S, and the front control arms and ball joints are from a Rabbit. So they're inexpensive, and that's the whole thing.
My wife's here with us tonight. One of her first cars was a Rabbit diesel from like 1977.
I'm sorry.
So it was sort of a partnership, right? Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche coming come together and they put this car out there in 76 or 77
Yeah.
first years?
What happened was that they wanted Volkswagen wanted a replacement for the 914. The 914s in the U.S. were sold in Volkswagen dealerships, so they wanted to replace it with something else. So they got together and they built this 924. It used an Audi engine, an Audi transaxle, a lot of VW parts, a lot of VW pieces, and it worked out to have this car that was going to then be sold as a Volkswagen at Volkswagen dealers as a partnership with Porsche and Volkswagen. Well, that partnership around 75 or so fell apart. And Volkswagen decided instead to go with the Scirocco as their sports car. That was the
75 Volkswagen Scirocco.
That car gave a hip check to Porsche. And so now Porsche had this car. And because they had this car, they had to do something with it. So they branded it as a 924, and they put it out there, knowing immediately that they needed to develop something that was more Porsche and less Volkswagen. And that's where the 944 came from.
Wow, so I remember in 1983, I was in my first year of college. And I was looking for a Porsche at the time, and I had my eyes on a 912. That's really what I wanted. That was what I thought I could afford. I love the 911, but that wasn't in my price range.
Yeah.
So I was looking for a 912, and I ended up in a 914. But that same year, a good friend that was a baseball coach bought a brand new 1983 944. And I got a ride in that car, like about 2 days after he bought it, and just thought, wow, this is fantastic, because I had ridden in a 924, and it was a totally different game in that 924. It was awesome. I remember it was a night drive, and he laid in with that car, and we had a blast.
And that was the thing about the 944 when it came out in '83. It was the same thing, only different. It was more refined. They had developed the 2.5-liter engine from the 928 engine. It's half of a 928 engine, and they had taken the look with the fenders and the wider track. It's not much. It's only a couple inches, but it makes all the difference in the world. And there were wait lists at Porsche dealers for the 944 in 1983. In May of '82, Car and Driver did a cover on the 944 and said it was the best thing to ever come down the road from Porsche or anybody. So between 76 and 95, Porsche sold, just in North America, 133,000 of these cars. And that's pretty good for any manufacturer, but a bulk of those cars were 83 to 95 944s and a few 968s.
So those cars really, they gained popularity very quickly, because I think of the horsepower pump, the real Porsche motor in there, so any of the Porsche files at the time who maybe were staying away from the car because it was an Audi engine or whatever, now they get on board, because now this was half of that 928 power plant, and really had an awesome power plant in it with all the fantastic handling that was in place already. Now, I read something recently about the 944 that I didn't realize, and that was the 944, if I'm not mistaken, so you clear me up, check me up, because you're the guy who knows everything about these cars. I read that the 944 was the first sports car to have twin airbags.
I've read the same thing. They were ahead of their time in a lot of things, safety being the big one. They did things in their cars, the whole line, that nobody else was doing, and before it was required. They just wanted to do the right thing and make it the right car. So the 944 or the 924 was also very popular, and they didn't stop making it in '83 when the 944 came out. They kept making the 924 for Europe and the rest of the world all the way up until '85, and actually into '86. But then the Audi engine, the block was being made by Volkswagen, and they stopped making that block. So Porsche said, okay, we have this 924. It's very popular. Everybody likes it. We can sell them. What do we do? It says, let's take the underpinnings from the 944 and put it in the 924, and that's what this is. This is a 924 that was still being made, but with the 944 driveline pasted into it and a few other little upgrades. But that's why the 924S in 1987, when this car was built, they brought 22,000 or so into the U.S. In 1988, there were financial issues with exchange rates and this sort of thing, so they only brought 2,500 or so 88s in, and that ended it. But this car, brand new in 87, was $19,995. And that brought a lot of people into the Porsche fold that later became 911 owners, Boxster owners, Cayman owners, except me.
Everybody got in the game and stayed in the game.
Yeah.
Those cars.
Yeah.
Just really, it was sort of a changer in the U.S. market, but I know that actually more of these cars were sold in Europe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it's true. In Europe and in Asia, and that's one of the things that we see now with the cars that are being produced today. I don't care if it's a Porsche or an Audi or a Hyundai or whatever it might be. The electronics in these cars are getting so complex that people worry about repairs. They also want a simple car. And so when you go back to a mid-80s 944, you're looking at a car that you can still work on yourself. You can still diagnose the problems. You can still buy parts at a reasonable rate.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
You can, and they're fun to drive. They handle great. But their downfall is that even the most powerful 944 is less than 250 horsepower.
Yeah.
And in today's market, in 1987 at 150 horsepower, this was a pretty potent car.
Yeah, it was.
Today?
Yeah, a different deal, a totally different deal. But it's a different market, right?
Yes.
And we've had many people out to Porsche Night with us, from GT3s to all the electric cars to 911, 964 turbos to speedsters to the 356. So we're really just trying to bring as many people out here to share their cars with us as we can across the entire fleet of Porsche all the years. So tonight is kind of a special night to celebrate these cars. And what I really love about that is I was out front just a little while ago, and I ran into a woman. She had her camera out, and she's taking pictures of all the cars and just having a great time out here with us. And I said, hey, do you have a car out here? She says, no, I only dream of having one of these cars one time. My son would love to have one of these cars. And I said, well, you know what? He might be able to, because this is probably one of the most affordable Porsches you could get involved with and come in here. So I'm hoping that maybe she's still here and listening to me say this, and maybe she comes over and talks to you afterwards, and we can bring another person into the fold with Porsche, get them involved maybe with a 924 or a 944, and who knows what can happen after that.
Yeah, that's one of the nice parts about these cars, is that you can get in affordably, but right now a lot of people understand that, and because of that, prices are starting to inch up on the used 944s. A Series 2, which would be an 85 and a half and newer 944 in decent stock condition, may have as much as doubled in value just in the past 4 or 5 years.
So what are we talking about to get involved in a car like that?
You can be easily under $10,000 for a car that's solid, rust-free, reliable, had all the maintenance done that needs to be done, that you can get in and just drive it. And of course, back a long time ago, my wife had a bumper sticker on her car that said, I'd have a Porsche if I could fit the groceries in the trunk.
Well, you know what? The 944 takes care of that, right?
The hatchback.
Yeah.
I've gone to Home Depot with my 944.
You got that. So let's switch gears and talk a little bit. So, you love these cars. So when did you start the website? So 924s, 944.com. I've looked at the site. You've got all kinds of cool information. What sort of was the impetus behind that? Why did you start that site? And tell us what you think the future holds for that.
Well, one of the things you do when you are a bit of an idiot like I am is that you have a lot of these cars. You sell them, you buy them, you fix them, and all this. And people will call you and say, I have a 944 or 924S. It's been in my carport with a broken timing belt for 5 years. Come get it. Take it away. So I would come get it, and I'd take it apart and put the parts on the shelf in case I need them for another project. Well, I have a ton of used parts. Engines, transmissions, the interior pieces, seats, I mean, you name it. So as I was approaching retirement from Daytona State College, I was a professor of criminal justice. I was approaching retirement, and everybody says, you know, when you retire, have something to do. Like, all right, maybe I'll try this and see if I can sell a few parts, and I'll write about some things that I know about, and people ask me questions, and I'll write about it. I had one owner tonight ask me about the shifter. So that's an article coming up on what
so you got some
shifters.
So that, you know what, that makes me feel great, because you know that's what Porsche Night at Ace Cafe is all about. It's sharing all of our passion for Porsche, meeting new people, and if you got some inspiration, you know, for your site, that makes me feel great. That's awesome that you know that you're getting something out of there.
And that's really all it is. If somebody needs parts, I sell them some parts. I get a car once in a while, and maybe I'll bring it back to life and sell it. It is more of it's an intense hobby rather than really a business.
Right.
But I enjoy it. We have a good time with it, and I just write about things that I think people like to know about.
Well, that's great. I'm sure that everybody in that community appreciates all the hard work that you put into it. I know that I've seen some articles on there that sort of poke a little bit of fun too, that you had that create a little bit of controversy, a little bit of craziness out there. I saw that recent one.
And I'd like to talk about that.
Okay, all right, go for it.
My wife and I were anticipating Easter Sunday and April Fool's Day as the same day, and the grandkids were going to come over and go swimming in the pool and stuff. So we started thinking about what can we do on April Fool's Day to the grandkids. I mean, it's what grandparents do. So I started to think about it, and I thought, wait a minute, I have a much larger pool of people to mess around with. So I sat down and I wrote that article on Porsche was going to reintroduce the 944, use all the same body panels, sculpt the headlights in, put a Cayman engine in, which by the way is impossible, and we're going to bring it back. That article haunts me to today.
Wow.
Northam, be up here in a few minutes, had a guy ask him the other day about the new,
when it was going to happen, when he could put his name on the list at the Porsche dealer. Yeah.
I had people who posted on social media that they had gotten permission from their wives, and they were going down to the dealership and put a deposit down so they get one of the first ones.
Well, hey, that's great. You know, you're helping to advance the brand. If we have a few more people walking a Porsche dealership asking for a new 944, all the better. I'm sure they'll be willing and waiting to convert them into a nice 718.
I have no idea how many people actually did that, went into a dealership. I'd love to know, but to tell you the truth, I really don't want to know.
Well, that's just awesome. You know, we can't thank you enough for coming out here. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to tell us about your site or anything more about your passion for these cars. You know, I've just known you for a short time, and I can see it. You know, you light up every time that that I mention one of these cars to you. You know, it's super special when you have people who are that passionate about something and they're willing to share with everybody in the community about it. So, you know, I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to talk about with it.
The only thing I would say is as a word of caution is that if you're going to buy a 944 or 924S and you're really not familiar with them very much, get somebody to help you out.
Wow.
Somebody who knows the cars to go with you, look at the car over mechanically, make sure that it's right, make sure that everything fits the way it's supposed to, works the way it's supposed to, and can give you an idea of if there are any pending repairs or what's going to cost you. They're trying to get that idea of what these cars are about. Too many times I've seen people, they'll buy a car, they'll bring it in and say, it's making a funny noise, I don't know what it is, and next thing you know, they're looking at a couple $1,000 for repairs.
Yeah.
So
then it's a big frown on their face. Now they just put all this money into a car, and now they're disappointed. So that's great advice for folks.
There are lots of them out there. You can always find the gem you're looking for in the condition that you're looking for.
You just got to be patient and follow the advice and just have fun with it.
Yep.
Right?
Very
well,
good.
Kevin, again, thanks so much for coming out. Again, for everybody, if you're wanting more information about 924s and 944s, go to 924s944.com. Read Kevin's articles. You'll get a chuckle out of some of them, and you'll learn some really cool stuff about all the little ins and outs of these cars. And he's a great guy to speak with, super open. You can contact him very easily, and he'll be happy to share all of his knowledge and passion for these cars with you. So thanks so much for coming in.
I appreciate it. Thank you
Great,
so
Kevin.
much.
All right. So we're going to switch gears a little bit now, and you have to be patient with us maybe for a couple of minutes. We may move a few things around, but we're going to have a couple come in and speak to us about their iteration of a 924, 944, the 968. So I don't know if we have them in here. Are Jennifer and Greg in? So come on down, guys. We'll talk about your car for a little bit. So we'll give the mic to Jennifer, okay, Greg? Just
Give it to Jeff.
okay. And nice to see you guys.
Great to see you.
Been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I think I saw Greg over the weekend at a Porsche Club event. We had a nice drive over to Brevard County.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, and I think the last time I saw you guys was out at the 70th anniversary of Porsche, out at Porsche of Orlando. You guys had your car out there, and it's a special car, and I think it's awesome that you're able to bring it out here tonight and share it with us. So I want you to tell us a little bit about it. So tell me about this beautiful little blue car that's parked right out front of the front door out here.
So the car is actually titled in my name, which makes it pretty special.
Well, of course, that's the way it should be, right?
Of course, of course. Actually, Greg kind of bought it as a present. He researched many months for it and came across it online and made contact with the current owner, who was in Virginia at the time.
Also a lady.
Also owned by a woman. And he bought a one-way ticket to Virginia to go pick it up, and took a lot of tools with him to make sure that if anything happened on the way back, that he could bring it back without any issues. But took tools and everything, went up there, and he checked it out, talked to the owners, and ended up driving it back, staying at his brother's house in Hilton Head on the way back, and put a big red bow on it in the garage when he brought it back. But the interesting thing is, it was purchased about the time that the movie Cars.
Oh, okay. The Walt Disney movie, Cars.
The Disney movie Cars came out, and so even though it's not a Carrera, because it's blue, we call it Sally.
Oh, awesome. That's awesome. So, Greg, tell us about the car. What year is the car? What are all sort of the details about this one? All the technical stuff.
Well, after Kevin, I can't be too technical. It's a 93.
1993, 968.
968. It's got a limited slip. It's got it's Tahoe blue. So the Tahoe blue is a paint to sample for 1993.
So paint to sample, for all of the folks who don't know what that is, this is something that you do exclusively through Porsche when you buy the car new, and they'll basically paint the car whatever color you want to, right? So it's totally customized to you.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen a whole lot, so it's very special when you can buy a car that was a paint to sample car.
Makes it a little different. It is a Porsche factory color, 911 turbo color. The guy saw it, I guess, and loved it. So it is a factory color, but it just wasn't offered. So he had to buy a paint to sample, like a $5,000. Nort told me it's like a $5,000 option.
A $5,000 option to have it Tahoe blue.
Somewhere around.
Hold the mic a little bit closer to you. They're motioning to me saying, get that mic up close.
It was like $52,000.
There you go.
That
okay.
car.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
So how long have you owned it now?
I think it was 2005, something like
Wow, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know, it's great that you guys brought it out. So I really appreciate you coming in and talk to us a little bit about it. We know it's a very special car. You don't see many of these around, although tonight you probably saw there's 2 other 968s out on the lot tonight, right?
Yep.
I spoke to a gentleman who had one of them. I didn't see the other guy yet, but awesome cars. Awesome to see more than one. I see your car all the time out at shows, and you guys are sharing it with everybody. So it's cool to see more people with the cars.
Right.
So thanks again for coming in and talking to us about it. Jennifer's been involved and Greg's been involved with the Porsche Club for many years. Greg has been involved with Porsche Club Racing, and Jennifer's been on the board and a zone rep with the Porsche Club for years. This is a Porsche couple to the bone here. I know that we saw you guys up at the Porsche Parade. I think it was in 2007 or 2008 in North Carolina. So these guys are Porsche to the bone, and we can always count on them for sharing their cars with us. So thanks for coming out and spending some time with us, guys. We really appreciate it. All right, so we're gonna switch gears a little bit and bring in a crew. And I don't know how this is gonna go, because this next crew of guys, I tell you what, it's gonna be some fun, because I don't think there's too many places you can go across the United States and talk about 944s and have in the same town 3 national champion Porsche racing drivers. Okay, so we're going to bring these guys in right now. If we can find them, we're going to raggle them down here from the bar. Are they together, Fred? We got our first guy in here. So we'll have to sort of pass the mic through, but come on in, Fred. Have a seat here. So Fred Beasley is coming in, so thanks for seeing us. Kip Van Steenberg is coming in with us next, so it's great to see you, Kip. And then Nort Northam, who is a repeat guest to Porsche Night here at Ace Cafe, is joining us. And so have a seat, gentlemen. And so it's a real treat. As I said, I don't think you could be anywhere in the country and have sort of the lineup that we have here, guys. What you're looking at are 3 guys who absolutely love Porsche, but when you go back over the last 3 or 4 years, we look at Fred Beasley is the reigning Porsche Club 944 Cup national champion right here, right? I got that right?
And a PCA Club Racing champion.
PCA Club Racing champion as well from last year. Then we have Kip Van Steenberg from New Smyrna Beach, right, Kip? So Kip won the SCCA, the Sports Car Club of America, runoffs last year. I guess it was at Indianapolis. Is that right? You can use that mic now, Kip.
Yeah.
So we're at Indianapolis.
Last year, 2017, the SCCA runoffs were held at Indianapolis.
So where in Indianapolis were they held? At the Speedway?
Yeah.
So they ran the
First time ever it was held there.
The road course that they first ran with Formula One a number of years ago, right?
Yep.
And so you guys got to run on the Speedway.
It was the largest SCCA runoffs ever in the history
Wow.
of SCCA. Almost 1,000 entrants in it.
Wow, so that is just amazing. So you're looking at the reigning national champions in these 2 different series, and then when you pass the mic down to Nort Northam, was it 3 years ago or 4 years ago? Am I
2015.
2015 PCA 944 Cup national champion, and
Yes, both. And SP2 champion.
And who did you beat that year?
I believe it was Fred.
It was Fred. so that year he got you. So
Fred and I have been running together for a long time. He's my drafting partner.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So you set him up that year, and then he paid you back.
Well, what we do
Other
is
times?
we go out and draft together, and then when they do that last lap thing, we beat each other up.
Okay, all right, awesome. Wow, that is just so cool. So, like I said, this is a special time for us. Thanks so much for bringing your cars out here and sharing them with us. They're just, awesome machines. I mean, Kip brought his in a closed trailer, so this dude's serious. Fred brought his on an open trailer and just backed the trailer up and just said, "Here it is, guys." It's out there, and he's got.
He doesn't have to load his now.
Yeah. He's the smart guy, right? He didn't have to unload it, right? other cool thing, how I came to know Fred is about a year ago, I started looking around and I thought, hey, we want to pick up a Porsche Cayenne. Go ahead and take the mic there, Fred. We want to pick up a Cayenne to help tow our boat. So I started looking through and I called this ad for a Porsche Cayenne, and I spoke to this woman and she said, yeah, you know, you can come over and take a look at the car. I'm coming back from West Palm Beach, but my husband will be there and he'll show you the car. And it was Fred Beasley. So, you know, when you're looking for a pre-owned Porsche and it's literally a mile and a half from your house up the road, they were right in Bay Hill, right up from us in Dr. Phillips. It was just the perfect match. So, you know, we picked up his Cayenne, so that's how I came to know Fred a little over a year ago. So, yeah, that's right. It was all set up for towing.
I had backed off 50,000 miles off that car, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm sure. Yeah. So Nort didn't help you with that, though, because Nort's the good guy in town with the. I mean, this guy, if you want to buy a Porsche, you get it from Nort, right? It has been for years. So we got 3 national champions here. So maybe we'll start with you, Fred. So what got you involved with Porsche? I know that when we came over and picked up that Cayenne, my wife and I came over and got it from you. We saw another neat car in your garage. So not only a 944 race car, but you got another nice little red car in there. So tell us about that car, and maybe tell us how did you get involved with Porsche?
I guess currently I have a 97.
Hold it up close there for us. There you go.
A 97 993, which is one of the last air-cooled versions. But I gotten involved back in the late 80s with 911 and a 911 Targa, and then I graduated into driver's eds, and a guy that I was working with, kind of a mentor of mine, said, hey, you ought to go racing. And so I got my SCCA license and then graduated from back and forth between SCCA and PCA Club Racing and some other racing organizations over the years. But the 944 has been a great car. It's a very durable car. It's not as, quite frankly, expensive to maintain and race as a 911. So when we have our recessions, we can keep racing.
That's great. That's awesome.
So yeah, it just continued, and you go deeper and deeper, and Nort has always been a great source of information and someone we look up to here in Orlando.
Yeah. Nort was one of our first guests. I guess it was maybe the second show that Nort came on, and we talked a lot about, how he founded the local chapter of the Porsche Club of America here and what he's done, and a really cool car, that 89 Speedster that he has, which is a pretty special car. And so we'll get into more conversation with him later. But yeah, you're right. I mean, he's a guy that everyone in Orlando, if you know Porsche, you know about Nort Northam. So cool. So when did you get your first Porsche? Like how many years ago has that been?
87.
1987.
87, yeah.
Okay. All right, cool.
But I kept that as a garage queen.
Okay.
Car, but the 944, I started racing that in late 90s.
Okay. Well, you're the reigning national champion, but I still beat you. I got my first Porsche in 1983. Okay. All right.
Well,
that's the only thing I can beat you at. Well, that's awesome. Well, thanks for coming in. So, Kip, maybe you would take the mic and we talk a little bit with you. So, this car, how long have you owned this car that brought you to a national championship last year?
I built this car back in... I sold my company in a medical company in '99. My brother's been into racing forever, and I decided I was going to go racing after I sold the company. And I had my brother build a couple Mazdas and whatnot for me, and I started off, I ordered this Porsche 944. At the time it was a 944S, and I built it for ITS in SCCA. And I started racing up north. At the time I lived up in Massachusetts. And we won several titles in ITS, won 3 championships up there, North Atlantic Road Racing Championship, came down here and we won 10 championships ranging from ITS. I changed the car over to ITR with a 3-liter in it and ran it in ITR.
So same car all these years?
Same car. Started off, it was a gray car, inside and out. So I just kept kept evolving the car, and ITR, we didn't have enough competition really in ITR for my taste, and so I decided I would go into nationals in E-production.
Wow.
We got first year we ran full time in nationals was in 2015, and we qualified on the pole at Daytona during the runoffs, and led every lap of the race except for the one that counts.
Oh, no.
We had a 7.5 second lead with 1 lap to go, and I hit the brakes going into the bus stop, and the brakes went to the floor, and the brake caliper came off, and I barely kept it off the wall, and that was it for the race. So,
the agony of defeat, right? You remember the old Wide World of Sports, right? Terrible. You saw the guy crashing off the. Yeah, you were the agony of defeat.
So then in 2016, my mother passed away, so I didn't do much racing in 2016. So to come back in 2017 and win the bigger runoffs, which was at Indy, was just a thrill.
Wow, must have been a real thrill. I mean, to cross the bricks and to be named the champion there, I can't imagine what that felt like.
And it's been this car the whole time that I've
wow. So I spoke to Don Northrup of German Excellence just about 2 weeks ago, and I asked him, and he said, I've got the perfect guy to come out, and he told me about your car. He said, this is the most developed 944 that you're going to find. He said, this guy pours his heart, his soul, his mind, all of his engineering expertise. He's just poured himself into this car, and so it's just awesome that now I'm seeing it, right? I mean, you rolled in here, rolled it off the trailer, started that thing up, and that was a thrill for me to see you back it up over there and put it in place. So the agony of defeat in 2015, and Fred, you told me this past year in your win at Daytona, that was a little interesting situation. Let's back up and talk about that. So tell everybody what happened in that win.
Yeah, well, I had to win the last 2 races of the year, which were at Daytona, a sprint race on Saturday and an enduro on Sunday. So I won the sprint race on Sunday or Saturday at Daytona. So Sunday rolls along, and you're busy, and a lot of excitement in the paddock trying to get the car ready. And so I go out for the hour-and-a-half race, and the second to last lap, next to last lap, I start running out of gas.
Running out of gas. Now, let me ask you a question. How is that possible?
Well,
how do you run out of gas in arguably the most important race of your career? How does that happen?
Well, it's really expensive gas. No, my tank was big enough, I promise. I just miscalculated on the gas. And,
fair enough.
And the banking, the slope at Daytona is pretty severe, and the pickup and our gas tanks are on the right side. So as you're going around the banking, all the gas goes to the left.
Oh my gosh!
You have under a couple of gallons of gas. You're not picking up your gas, so the car started sputtering. But I get around to the last lap, and I come around NASCAR 4, which is the last turn at Daytona, and the engine essentially cuts off. But I had enough of a lead to coast and get across the start-finish line. And then I had to be towed in back to the paddock.
They had to tow you to victory lane.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
You know what? Whatever it takes. It doesn't matter. When you're in victory lane, it doesn't matter how you got there, right? Yeah. What a cool story.
And the sad part is I had a gallon and a half of gas left in my gas canister back at the paddock that I should have poured in the tank, but I was too stingy.
Wow.
Another story about that.
Okay, so wait. Let's talk about that. What's going on with this? What's this story, Nort?
In 2015, I was the SP2 national champion. It was a cakewalk. It was a beautiful year. 2016, I was struggling. When did
little closer, Nort. Little closer.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah. All right.
Okay. And we came to Daytona, and it was like Fred. It was do or die at Daytona. We had the starter failed on us on the pit stop. I think we were probably in second place behind Fred at that time, and so I was secure. I was in good shape. The starter failed. I got out 27 seconds late, and set the fastest lap of the weekend, trying to catch everybody. I ended up in 4th place by 17 1,000th of a second.
Oh my God!
Which cost me. I mean, I'm looking at Aaron. I'm looking at him in the mirror. Said, "Just lift, just lift." And so it ended up that it was okay until Fred got weighed. Fred won. The guy I was running against for the championship was in 2nd place. Fred got disqualified.
Oh boy.
And the guy then was in 1st place, which gave us a tie for the national championship.
Oh my gosh.
And then...
So how did that work?
Well, they have a tiebreaker. He had one more win than I did.
Oh.
So I've never let Fred forget it. In fact, I forgot. He got here a little later. I would have made him buy my beer.
I think you got to pay up, man, right after this. You got to pay up. I mean,
when Fred's talking about running out of gas, I understand. In fact, I even went to him before the race and said, make sure and put plenty of gas in. Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
That was part of your strategy? That's what you said?
Yeah, he's trying to keep the weight down, power to weight, you know.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
So, Nort, tell us a little bit. So, you win in 2015, and so you're on the top of the mountain, 2015, right?
2015.
Okay, 2015, you're the national champion with Porsche Club Racing, 944 Cup. And it's a beautiful 944 green. It
was actually a 924S that we built in 1998.
Okay.
Had the car for 19 years, and unfortunately, a faster class car after a long caution a year and a half ago at Sebring tried to go down inside of me at 16, didn't make it. Hip checked me and put it into the wall.
Put you into the wall and
destroyed the car.
Destroyed the car. So now it sits up on the lift at your shop, and you're peeling parts off of it that you can.
I go back and visit it every once in a while.
Right. But so now I see another car out front that you've purchased, and now you're going to get back in the game, and you're going to start coming for Fred again. What's going on?
Yeah, we're gonna.
Does he have something to worry about, or?
Kevin Duffy and I are working together on this.
So he's got a partnership. He's coming all guns.
Yeah, I can feel him coming. I feel him coming. It's the heat's coming on. Yeah, but we'll see next year. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Wow. So the challenge is on.
Well, we'll see, because we may go to Summit. We may both go to Summit Point. This is a 2.5 liter car, which is lighter, and Fred and I have both run 2.7 liters, which at Daytona and Sebring and Atlanta and the faster tracks seem to be better. But there's a guy from New Jersey with a 2.5 car that's really kicking everybody's behind.
Wow.
Vieira, I think his name is. Yeah.
So
it's a 2-valve. Yeah.
So Kip, what are the chances that the three of you could compete in the same series, and we could sort of really see what's going on here with the three of you guys?
I had one experience with the Porsche Club Racing. I rented a car just to go out there and have a great time with it. And I did have a great time. It was at Sebring. And during one point at the race, we were under a double yellow, and this guy behind me, I guess he was texting or something in his car.
He's texting while racing?
I don't know. He ran into the back of my car under double yellow going into the hairpin and goes bouncing off the track. And I thought, what the heck was that? You know? So we get back under green and we race the race. And make a long story short, my race was shortened by a crash. I was running side by side with
Fred?
With Fred when it happened, and ran out of track there. I got into the marbles and back to car. But I was called to the steward's office after that.
You were?
And I thought it was going to be about the accident, about the wreck. Right. I said, no, it wasn't about that at all. She says, you got touched by another driver and you didn't come into the penalty box. And I said, well, that's right, because the other car hit me in the rear end. I had nothing to do with it. So, I didn't come. She says, you don't understand. We're about the club first and racing second.
Oh.
She says, if you are touched or you touch somebody, you're required to come into the penalty box.
My Lord.
And I said, based on those standards, I said, I was out here 2 weeks ago racing with Spec Miata. You would have had the entire field in here after one lap, waiting in line to go through your penalty box. But I understand they've changed that now.
Wait, Nort's got something.
When I came into Porsche Club Racing, I came out of the Firehawk series.
That's in the 80s, right?
Yeah, well, it's in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
You know, and I ran an IMSA a lot, but in IMSA and the GT cars, you didn't try. The Firehawk series was contact sport. I mean, it was like Spec Miata. You know, I mean, if you'd come back after the end of the race and there'd be no damage, the crew would look at you like, say, "What are you, a wimp?"
Wow.
And so I get into club racing and I start diving inside of people and crunching fenders and stuff. I got in all kinds of trouble. You know, they do a 13-13 thing where yes, I think Mark Peoples and I are having a competition to see who could have the most 13-13s.
Awesome.
If you goof up again within 13 months, then they throw you out for 13 months. Fortunately, I've never been thrown out, but I had to kind of tune it back a lot.
Wow.
When I got into Porsche Club Racing, I know what he's talking about.
Well, that's just awesome. So you guys have known each other for many years, had a lot of fun times. I know it takes a lot, right? It takes a lot of your personal time, personal investment, money. You have to have help along the way. I know that, Fred, you've gotten help technically probably from a lot of different guys. I don't know if it's been Nort from everyone. Kip, I understand that Don Northrop from German Excellence, he helps you out quite a bit with...
Excellence has been very supportive of my racing, and as has my wife. You can't do it without people helping you.
Yeah, it really does take an army. It's great, and I know between Kevin Duffy with 924s944.com and Don with German Excellence here in town, there's so much knowledge about these cars that we're talking about tonight, and it's just a great place for someone to get involved with them at any level, whether they want a car for the street or they want to get involved and take the racing plunge. There's between all of you guys here and Don and Kevin Duffy and a host of others in town that are willing to help people get involved. There's probably just not a better place to be than Orlando with 944s and 924s, right, guys?
That's true. You've got the driver's eds and the autocross series, which anybody can go and
so
944 makes a terrific car for that because you don't want to take your GT3 out and put it into a wall.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
You mean you want to take your 924 out and put it in the wall?
If you do, you don't want to swallow a 38.
That's true.
Well, you know what, guys? It's been so much fun with you out here tonight. Again, thanks so much for saying yes when you got that call to say, hey, come on out. I know I just talked to Fred 2 nights ago or 3 nights ago. I guess it was Friday I gave you a call. And, he was like, absolutely, I'll be out there. And when I mentioned your 2 names, I think that fired him up even more. He wanted to be out here and just call me. Yeah, right away. So it's so cool to see that camaraderie and that friendship, and that's what they say, right? The Porsche Club is not so much about the cars, it's about the people, and just having a great time. So again, thanks so much for coming out, guys. Is there anything else, any other story that we need to hear, or anything at all? I don't know, Kip. I don't know. I'm seeing something in Kip's eyes. There's something else he wants to tell us. I don't know. What's on your mind?
I was listening to these guys talk about the fuel stories, and I remember one time at an SCCA, it was actually at one of the SARC Invitational Championships I ran in. At the time, I just sold my company. I had 3 different cars I was running in 3 different classes. So I'd run one car and I'd park it on the, at the impound. I'd jump out of that car and the guys would take it through impound for me, and I'd go jump in the other car and race that one and whatnot. I got into one of the cars and I'd won the race, and I'm pulling into the tech inspection to get weighed, and all of a sudden my brother shows up with a great big gallon jug of water, and he's cut the top off of the water, right? Says, "Congratulations, little brother," and he pours this water down my suit, right? Then the next guy on the team comes up, and he's got a jug of thing. He says, "Hey, congratulations!" And he pours this water over my head, and then my brother's wife comes up and takes this towel that's soaked with water and puts it around my neck. "Hey, congratulations!" All that. I'm like, what is going on? Exactly. They had put me out there with a car that didn't have enough fuel, and they were worried about me making weight. We made weight by 1 pound after they doused me, and I don't know how much fluid.
To help her with the lead in it, right?
That's awesome.
It happens.
Wow, that's great. What a great story. All right, guys. Well, again, thanks so much. And everybody, we want to thank you so much for coming out, all the PCA members and everybody listening to us on Cycle Fever TV, live on our live stream and on Facebook. It was just a fantastic group of guys coming out here tonight with their cars. Some ladies bringing their cars in, as you saw Jennifer and Greg. We got it all going out here. The third Monday of every month, Porsche night at Ace Cafe. You don't want to miss it. Just keep coming out, and we'll do our best to bring kind of interesting guys like this to the table and having fun out here every single month. So again, thanks. I think that's going to wrap us up for Porsche night tonight. We'll see you next week, or next month, I should say, for our next edition. So thanks again, guys. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks, Kip.